This past Sunday, we celebrated Father's Day here in the United States and in many countries. So I find myself continuing to think of and to give thanks for my father. His name was John Lawrence Phalan. My grandfather John wanted to call my father John, as he was the first and wound up being the only boy child. But my grandmother Helen wanted to call him Lawrence. So, and I'm not sure why, but anyway, they settled on John Lawrence. But then everybody called him Larry. So somehow my grandmother won on that one, I know. Above all, I want to thank my father and I want to thank God that he was indeed one of these sensible men who built his house on the rock. He literally built his house on the rock, who is Christ. His house, his life, his marriage, his family, built on the Word of God. If he was just a normal guy, I'm not talking about someone who was a religious fanatic. No, rather, he and my mother, Kathy, they shared this innate wisdom that they had received from 1,500 years of Irish Catholicism. This wisdom about what it is to be Christian spouses, Christian parents, the wisdom of how to transmit the faith simply, yet like transmitting it like fresh air and light and darkness. My father, like many men, he wasn't a big talker. Rather, he taught by his example. Simple things. Simple things that spoke of an authentic life of virtue, practicing virtue like honesty, respect, the dignity of each person, discipline, hard work, generosity, and care for the needy. Put into practice in simple actions. Simple actions, see, yes, like Sunday Mass. We never missed it. Daily prayer. In the home, talking easily about Jesus and faith. And living with everyday joy. That's not to say that he was perfect. Not by a long shot. Nor was everything happy all the time. Sometimes, of course, and marriage is difficult. My parents had their hard times. And he struggled with his weakness. And sometimes he had his own inner demons he had to struggle with. He struggled sometimes seriously again with depression. But in all of it, he had this real, everyday faith. At the heart of it all, I knew then that from him and my mother I received an unconditional, unselfish love from Kathy and Larry together that I always knew was bigger than that little family. The love in my home, we knew it. It was Jesus loving us. So that faith, that love of the Trinity, it was a word, as the Jesus in the parable tells us, a seed planted in good soil. And so still it runs in the marrow of my bones. Thanks to Kathy and Larry, it was something even strong enough to weather a period of my life when, like so many, I was blown like chaff when I was a young adult and seemed to abandon my faith. But that love never abandoned me. And waited his time, brought me back. As I say, my father wasn't some kind of a fanatic or religious militant. Yet I know he consciously chose something. He knew which would be the path to life. This gospel text that we hear today is actually a very important one. It's at the end of the Sermon on the Mount. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus has just laid out the new law of the new covenant. It's not just a collection of nice sayings. And in that, as this new covenant, there's a choice. Actually, a choice between life and death. Jesus is calling on people, as did Moses when Moses delivered the law. Choose life so that you and your descendants shall live. how grateful I am that my father chose life.